A new report out confirming what we've been saying for months. President Biden's botched Afghanistan withdrawal could have been prevented. Senior White House and State Department officials failed to understand the Taliban's swift strength as they advanced to gain control of the nation. The Biden administration ignored the efforts by U.S. military leaders to prepare the evacuation of embassy personnel and Afghan allies weeks before the fall of Kabul. This 2,000-page investigation conducted by the Army was released to the Washington Post through a Freedom of Information Act request, which details this disastrous escape plan.
And joining us now to discuss these developments is retired Arizona National Guard Major General Michael McGuire. He is also running for the U.S. Senate. General, great to have you with us.
Thanks for having me, John. Good morning.
You know, this is what we had heard about. Some of this had been admitted to in some of the press briefings, but we see it now in plain print in this Washington Post report. Ross Wilson, who was the acting ambassador at the time, he requested 2 weeks to evacuate the embassy and leave a skeleton staff at the airport there. But 3 days before Kabul's fall, Secretary of State Anthony Blinken and White House National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan called Wilson and instructed him to move more quickly. Why do you think they did that?
Failed leadership. This is just failed leadership at every level, John. And, you know, I was talking to some friends. I had retired in April, just 90 days prior to this absolute tragedy and the greatest strategic, operational, and tactical failing in my memory in this nation. And I talked to some guys that had been on the ground in the last year, and they said, General, we know exactly just how deeply embedded the Taliban was, just how many problems there were in the different provinces. And this idea, you remember, John, when this happened, they said we had no intel to know that this was going to happen. That they were lying. They were lying. They knew this. And the people on the ground could have told them if they just asked the soldiers that were there.
That is the question. I mean, how does this stuff not get up? How do we have this kind of communication breakdown? I mean, some of this stuff seems so obvious to even someone like myself who has absolutely zero military experience.
Well, I think the military intelligence was there. I think that there's far too much of what's happening in the body politic today is all about political calculations for the advancing of individual agendas. Look here in Arizona at the border crisis. Mm-hmm. On midnight, on January 20th, I was the commanding general of the Guard. Joe Biden, his first act was to zero out the funding for 1,030 National Guardsmen that were authorized to help Customs and Border Patrol as the wall was being built and completed. Not only did he zero out the construction dollars, but he zeroed out all the funding for all the paychecks for 1,030 Guardsmen at midnight. We had to recall them. And so they keep saying they're not for open borders. Every one of these things is about pandering to the radical left and not doing what's in the best interest of our nation and our great servicemen and women.
You mentioned the border. We have Kamala Harris. The borders are now being tasked with the response to the growing Ukraine-Russia crisis. The VP reportedly traveling to Munich to attend the security conference there. But, I mean, this is Kamala Harris now joining Jake Sullivan and Anthony Blinken. How does this help anything?
Well, she was supposed to come here and fix this problem, went to the Golden Triangle, and I did an interview on Newsmax a couple months ago and said I was in Yuma in 2.5 hours. They apprehended 121 people, not a single one from the Golden Triangle or Mexico. So she missed the target by miles. Now we're going to send her over to Europe. We already see the fracturing with NATO. Biden was the one that shut down the oil production. Biden was the one that you just reported botched and knew that Kabul would collapse immediately. Taiwan is under duress because China saw that failed leadership and Russia feels emboldened. She's going to go over there and try to make a deal with them. She needs to focus on figuring out what's gone on in our own country. 7.5% inflation, lawlessness at the border. She is the last person I can think of that the American people would trust to be our emissary to try to keep the peace in Eastern Europe.
General McGuire, thank you for your time. Take care.
Thank you very much.